into day 2 of summer. We have a lovely day predicted, but we do still have some damp crops. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to American Midwest. So when we left off yesterday, I'd done some mowing, I bought some new animals, I kind of fed the the sheep, and then we kind of left it about there. So to fill you in on what we kind of got up to after that, once the cameras stopped rolling, what I did was go through into the rest of the animals and give them a bit of a top up as well, as you can see. I can't give the pigs any wheat or barley because I don't have any wheat or barley anymore. Same with the canola, sunflower / soybeans, completely out of those as well. So those two are kind of running down a little bit as they are, but you can see that it hasn't affected our pigs' health. They're not gaining any health. They're still staying at 83%, but they're not dropping. So they're kind of holding station, which is good. And the cows, we've got the new cows in. They're now up to 83%, and I fully fed those yesterday as well. And then after that, I then went ahead and bought a Lely Juno, which you can see running away at the sheep farm. We just take a quick hop jump up there. You can see there, worker M is our Lely Juno. And then I also went over to the orchard. I'm just going to quickly jump over here for a second. I topped up all the trees, so the trees yesterday got a full top up of manure and water, and I also added this weight here on the back of our little Flitzy just here as well. Now the plan was, this was actually pointed out to me by one of my viewers, that these weights were available. I didn't actually realise these were here, but unfortunately, although this has a toolbar, the plan was to then use this to then tow the trailers, but this particular toolbar here, which is designed for this one here, because there are two weights. If we go into the weights, you'll see there's this one here, which is what's fitted. You've also got this kind of plate weight here, which I think is designed for the smaller one. It doesn't work. It works, but it doesn't work. You'll see what I mean. I'm going to show you when I hook up to it. It's really it's quite bad. It makes it really hard to control. So if I drive up and connect, it's actually working okay this time, but the first time I tried it, it was bouncing all over the place, and the weight was shaking up and down and up and down and up and down, and it was really hard to drive. So maybe it was like that. Yeah, there we go. And that's just, yeah, it's it's not good. Let's put it that way. So rather than kind of buddy hopping my way through the whole thing, I needed to bring over a fresh pile of manure because I used up all we had. So I just brought over the telehandler with a trailer full of manure, 40,000 litres, dumped that in there, and then used the telehandler to then tow the water and tow it all the way through there. Not ideal, but that's kind of what I had to do. And shortly after we stopped recording as well, actually, I finished feeding the animals, and it started raining. And it rained for a good 3 hours, and it stayed damp all the way through. You can see that just now that damp crop symbol has just disappeared, so the crops have finally dried out enough for harvesting. But obviously they're not ready for harvesting just yet. You can see they are in their growth stages here. We've got some fields into their final stage of growth, and I'm a little worried, actually. I bought a second weeder first thing this morning to help speed up the weeding process. I'm a little worried that we may have left it a little too late for some of these fields. Field 10 here, our canola field. I don't know if I can weed this. I don't think I can weed in the final growth stage. So, as you can see, I've got my two tractors here lined up, my Optum and my Puma. We're going to convert their wheels over to skinny wheels. So let's do that just here. You can see, once again, my Holmer auger tank is burying itself into the ground. I really don't know why it keeps doing that. It's just, I've given up. I've given up trying to figure that one out. But it still keeps doing it. So let's switch these over to narrows. There we go. At the very least, we can at least make sure that our other fields get the full crop fertilization treatment that they need. But again, I mean, they're at stage, if they're at stage 2, then this could be the last stage of fertilising I could put on these fields as well. So I am a little worried that we might not actually get full fertilisation on some of our fields. These, I think these are still at stage 1. Stage 1 growth, so we should be fine on this one. This field has only been fertilised once, but we should hopefully be okay. Hopefully. You know, it's not guaranteed. But this is the drawback with natural fertilising. I can't really, realistically, spread slurry on these fields now that they're growing. I can't spread manure on these fields now that they're growing like this. Plus the equipment's really big and heavy, and I don't want to risk doing any damage to the fields. With some of the equipment I might not be able to convert it over for narrow running. And I just don't think you would actually spray manure and fertilize and slurry on fields once they start growing in real life. I might be wrong. If I am wrong, please do let me know in the comments. But I just don't think in real life you would actually spread manure or slurry on a field once the crop has actually grown to that sort of point. I think you'd do it at the beginning stages when you're prepping the field only. So that kind of proves a little bit problematic. And it means that some of our fields we might not be able to get all the way up to stage 3 fertilising. We're going to have to be really careful with how we work on fertilising our fields next time round. We're going to have to fertilise them before we seed them, and then fertilise them again after we seed them, just to make sure that we are definitely getting the full 3 stages on each field. So I'm going to get my workers up and running and do a little bit of weeding. And hopefully we will be alright, but as I say, I'm a little worried that we may have potentially screwed up slightly on some of our fields. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But there are, as I say, some fields that are in their final stage, and I don't know if I can actually use a weeder on those now that they've reached that stage. I think it's a little bit too far gone for those particular fields. Really, really hoping that's not the case. So the fields that are in danger, if we have a look at the growth chart, is this one here, field 10, fields 25 and 26, field 1 as well. Our other fields, they are still in stage 1 of their plant growth. Obviously they've gone through the very, very first stage, which is planted. Now they're in their first stage of growth. That's field 7. Field 4, I think, might be slightly further along. That might be stage 2. Then we've got these fields here. Now these ones, as you can see, this is going to be their second stage. It's possible we may have left those a little late. These ones are going to be absolutely fine. These ones we can definitely get done. And even field 12 here as well. We can get those up to stage 3. But the rest of them, I'm slightly worried that we will not be able to get them past stage 2. So that's going to have a knock-on effect on just how much. I mean, that's 30% of our yield gone if that's the case on each of those fields. That's a lot of crop to potentially lose. That's an awful lot of crop to lose. I really hope I'm proved wrong on that. So how else has the change in seasons affected our farm, and more specifically our animals? Well, let's take a closer look, shall we? If we go into our animal tab, you can see that we are now kind of in the breeding season for our cattle. So whereas the reproduction rates and next animal in sections for sheep and cow and pigs have no time displayed at all because we're not in their breeding seasons, we are now in the breeding season for cattle. And so we're producing a new cow every 9 hours and 23 minutes. So we've got just under 4 hours to go until we get the next one. And that's pretty good. We just added 28 cows into our herd yesterday. And now we're starting to see a proper increase in their numbers on top of that as well. However, we are having a knock-on effect. Our manure production is going down because it's the warmest part of the year, so the animals spend more time outside. Therefore, they tend to just poop in the fields rather than in the sheds where the straw is. So we don't get that much manure this time of year, and slurry kind of goes down a bit as well for the same reasons. So our straw usage is actually at its lowest point, or around its lowest point of the year in this season in summer. However, we're also seeing a knock-on effect on our milk sales as well. If we take a look at finances, you can see here sold milk. If we go back as far as Friday, when we were firmly in spring, you can see we were making 48,500 a day for milk, and then the next day it dropped to 43,000, give or take a couple of dollars. Then 42,000, then 41,300 as we moved into the first day of summer. And now that we've had the first day of summer and we've moved into day 2, you can see that when we hit midnight, only $25,000 for milk. Now our milk production is falling quite dramatically because we're in breeding season. Cows need the milk to help raise their young, and that's going to have a continued knock-on effect through the rest of summer and also into autumn, when it'll hit its absolute lowest point, as all those new young cows, those calves, are being raised through autumn and will kind of hit maturity around winter. Now winter will see us getting a big increase in slurry and manure production as the weather gets a lot colder. The cattle will spend more time inside, and therefore they'll be pooping on the straw, which we can then turn into manure and slurry. So we'll see a definite increase from autumn through to winter and into the beginning of spring, where our manure will really start to stockpile quite dramatically, just in time for when we need it in spring to start working on our fields again. But yeah, we can see that how, as we move through the seasons, they are affecting our animals quite significantly. We've already seen the differences in the pricing of animals quite dramatically. Now we're seeing the financial implications, and it's the same with animal upkeep costs as well. These are going to fluctuate quite dramatically, as you can see, as we move through the various different days. So we had in spring, Friday, $4,500 of animal upkeep costs. That dipped towards the end of spring as we reached the end of breeding season for our pigs. And then Sunday, when we had a big change in the number of our animals, again we got quite a big spike in animal upkeep. And then we moved into summer as the cows start to breed, and you can see, on top of the fact that we added in additional animals, the cows started breeding again, and boom, we had a big spike in our animal upkeep costs. And that's only going to get higher, I think, through the rest of summer. And then it'll dip a little bit as the cows stop breeding in summer, but the pigs will start breeding again in autumn, so the animal upkeep costs will fluctuate through that as well. And then we'll get into winter, and hopefully we'll see a reduction in our costs. Let's take a look at our sheep a little bit more as well, now that we've added some sheep in. So what can we expect in terms of our wool production? We haven't really made that much wool. We made 136 litres since we added them in half a day ago. That's not a huge amount. In fact, no, 3/4 of a day ago, really. Well, let's see what it says in the season's manual for wool production. If I can find it. I can't actually see where it says anything about wool. I can see where it says about cows and pigs and milk and food. I can't actually see anything about wool production. So I guess we're going to have to try and figure that one out, or maybe I'm just missing it and I'll find it at a later time, but I guess we might have to figure wool out on its own. I do know that the sort of breeding season for our sheep is going to be, I think, spring, which is when their value is at their highest. If we take a look here, you can see that the value of sheep is starting to drop and drop and drop, and will start to climb again as we move towards the end of winter into spring. So it looks as though breeding season for spring, for sheep is going to be spring. And you can see our cattle here, about to have a big spike in price coming up. I'm curious, actually. Obviously, we got off really quite cheap with our cows the other day. Let's see how much they're worth right now. Let's hit the map and jump over to the dealership and just take a look. You see, we could have waited. We could have waited till today. Look at the price for those, even cheaper. And the sheep are cheaper as well. They're about $300, $400 cheaper than what we paid yesterday. So we could have actually waited a day, and by buying the cows cheaper and the sheep cheaper today, we could have saved quite a bit of money. But it would have meant a few additional animals. It wouldn't really have made a massive difference. You can see the pigs are starting to go back up in price now. They were, I think, under 3,000 yesterday. They're now, back just a little bit over 3,000. So it's good to see that the prices do fluctuate. We can see here, look, there's that slight step up in price today compared to yesterday when we did some shopping. But significantly lower again than when we actually sold our pigs a few days ago at the end of spring. Nice to see the changes and the impact that season has on our animals there. So I've crossed over the road while our tractors are still weeding away on our soybean crop to come take a look at this field here. This is field 25, and this is one of our fields that I think is in its final growth stage. And I still haven't had a Wopster purchased on this farm yet, so I couldn't buy it earlier. I didn't have the money because I bought that weeder right at the start of the morning, but now we've earned enough through our orchard, I can actually buy a Wopster. So let's scan the field. I am a little worried, and I've kind of been putting this off, but we kind of need to know, I think. We're only at 50% growth height, so we might be okay. We may possibly be okay. We're not at 67% yet, and then obviously then beyond that we've got 83%, and then we've got the final, ready to harvest. So we might just be able to get away with it, and we might actually be able to weed those fields and get the fertilization level up to level 3. Really hope that's the case, because it could prove to be a very costly mistake if we've completely mistimed it here. Let's jump back into the Optum and just take over control of this guy, because there's not much left of this field. Actually, it's just this strip for our Optum to worry about. So we'll do this strip ourselves, and then once we get to the end, obviously the Puma's going to carry on working its way up the rest of the field. We'll take the Optum over to field 25, and we'll see if we can actually start weeding that field. And if we can, it's going to be a huge weight off my mind, a huge relief. I guess, like I say, we'll just have to kind of play the waiting game. Kind of making me a little nervous here as we get closer and closer to finishing this little strip here, and closer to moving over to field 25. It's going to be that big reveal moment. Are we screwed? Have we lost the chance to get full stage 3 fertilization on some of our fields? There we go. This field is done. Let's raise and fold. Let's make our way over there and find out once and for all. Oh, this is nerve-wracking. Please tell me I haven't screwed up my farm. Sticking to the speed limit. Oh, this feels so slow. It's just drawing out the inevitable tension. When we get past the junction, we get into a faster zone. Right, here we go then. Moment of truth time. Let's get unfolded. Please work. Please let me weed this field. I don't want to lose 30% of my crops on every stage 2 field that we have so far. It's not working. Oh, I knew it. God damn it. Yeah, look at that. We have left it too late. It is too far gone. It's too far grown. Oh no. So, field 25 and field 26 and field 1 and field 10. They're all too far gone. We can't weed on those fields anymore. We just lost 30% of this wheat crop, of that wheat crop, 30% of that barley crop, and 30% of that canola crop. Oh, god damn it. Yeah, that is a huge, huge blow. I'm kind of I'm kind of a bit annoyed with myself at this point here for not paying proper attention to my fertilizing stages. This is our au naturel farm, you know, our organic fertilizing farm, so we can't cheat and use sprays to get them up. Well, we could, but I'm not going to. And like I say, it's not really the right stage of growth for us to then just throw a load of manure on those crops, or slurry for that matter. So yeah, we're kind of just going to have to bite the bullet on that one. This year could have been huge with our crop returns, and instead we are losing 30% of most of our fields. That is a massive, massive blow. Alright, well I'm going to make my way over to field 12, which is our corn field. That field we're going to be doing some corn chaffing on, so I'm going to go and weed that one. And then I'll move up and I'll weed field 7. And then that's it, you know. Once 23 is done, I'll get the Puma moving across onto field 22 and weeding that one as well. And then that's our weeding kind of done for, you know, for the year. And well, I say not for the year. Hopefully, we can still weed 22, 23 and 24 one more time as they hit their next growth stage, but I'm worried that that's going to suffer the same problems, and that, you know, that's going to grow too much for us to be able to weed them again. Yeah, we really, really have screwed up quite royally on this farm in terms of our fertilization levels here, and it is a horrible, horrible feeling and terrible realization setting in. Alright, so as we stand by the Puma as it continues to weed our soybean crop, let's scan this. This is at 17% growth height, so this is still in its first stage. That's good. At least that field can be saved and up to full fertilization. Let's check this field here, make sure this is at the same stage as well. It looks like it is. Yeah, this is at 17% as well. So at least our big money crop we can get all the way up to stage 3. That is perhaps the most important one. I mean, the wheat and the barley, it would have been nice to get that to full 100% fertilization, but I mean, that was primarily going to be used for pig feed, and then we'd sell whatever was left. So it's a blow, but it's not as big a blow as it could have been. Canola, though, on field 10, that is a blow. That was going to be canola that we were going to sell. Now I don't think we can afford to do that. I mean, this here was going to be our canola for storing for pigs, and this was going to be our corn for storing for pigs. Those are going to be absolutely fine, I think. Let me double check field 4. Yeah, field 4 will be absolutely fine. But yeah, I mean, it's a blow that we've lost the full level on these 3 fields here. But these 3 fields, this grain was primarily, as I say, going to be used to feed the pigs, and then we'd sell whatever was left over. So it's not a massive blow. This one is a big one. Yeah, that's a good-sized field of a good value crop that's kind of wasted. You know, we've lost a third of the value of that field. But this can be salvaged. We can get this up to stage 3. So we can get our full value for our soybean, which is the most important one. The only problem is it's going to be a long time. I mean, the price of soybean at the moment, you can see, is really good because it's the summer. Summer is the best time to sell soybean. As you can clearly see, this is at its absolute peak. And by the time it's grown, which will be sort of towards the end of spring, sorry, the end of autumn, it'll be pretty much almost at its absolute lowest value for the year. So we'll have to wait almost a full year, again, from where we are now before we can actually sell our soybean, but we will at least get full value for it. So there is a silver lining, and that is kind of what I'm grasping for right now. Okay, so we're just about done weeding this field here. There we go. Oops, let's raise that back up. Fold it. Let's make our way over to our other soybean field. And we'll get that weeded as well. So here is our second soybean field on the other side of the railway. Let's get this fully fertilised as quickly as we can by adding stage 2 today. Cannot afford to risk losing this to just a 60% yield as well. Not after we've we've done that with our other fields. Excellent stuff. Right, I think our other tractor should be ready as well. It is. Fantastic. So from here, we're going to take our Optum up to field 7, weed field 7, and then come down to field 4. Just make our way back onto the road. There we go. And off we go to the next field. So now that we've got our tractors running on fresh fields, I suppose it's time to key you up on some plans for the kind of immediate future on the channel with as far as Farming Sim 17. Obviously we are getting ready to move into year 2 on Seasons in the Valley. That farm is going to continue there for at least another year. So we'll get through to the end of winter sort of year 2, and then we'll reassess that farm. It may come to an end, it may move to another map. We'll see what's available at the time. This farm, I have plans to continue running on this map until the release of Lone Oak, the new American themed map from Bullet Bill that is still being worked on. Everything I've seen about that map looks incredible, and I think as well it could potentially be the perfect home for American Midwest. We could move to that farm and run a full start from Seasons using everything that we have here, but translating that over to the new map. I think that could be very, very special indeed. And then we have Big Bud Farm. That is still continuing on its once a week journey in Mustang Valley. I do really want to achieve that target before I bring that farm to its final conclusion, which means owning both Field 2 and Field 4. I'm going to end up doing a lot of contracting work, I think, to try and raise money as quickly as possible, because I would like to try and bring that to a close sooner rather than later, but I do want to wait until we've hit the objective before we actually do that. And that leaves Deutz Farm on Gerala. Now, obviously, there was supposed to be a Deutz Farm video yesterday, and I recorded something on Thursday, ready for yesterday, and then in the end, I didn't release it. Because later that day, later yesterday, we had a brand new map go live. Green River went live, and what a map. It's incredible. It's a fantastic map. I love that map. You know, there's so much about that map that I really, really, really enjoy. If you haven't seen my map tour yet, please do go check it out. It is a fantastic map, and I really want to work on that. I really want to work on that farm. I think it's going to be a really good environment to work on. I think we could do some interesting different things on that, with it being a sort of a Dutch themed map. So we could do some interesting things with crops, you know, especially with Roper coming out in a couple of weeks. You know, one of the main sort of crops in the Netherlands, the main crops, you know, tend to be sort of wheat, barley, potatoes, and sugar beets, and also triticale, or triticale. It's pronounced, yeah, there's so many different ways to pronounce it. Some people call it triticale, triticale, and triticale. You know, there's a few different ways to pronounce that. There's no definitive, it's pronounced this way, but, you know, triticale. They're kind of the main products. Obviously, we can't do that, but there is some corn in there as well. So it's also, there's a lot of grassland in Holland, and a very large dairy industry. So we could look at, you know, incorporating those into a farm there, and I think we could probably have more fun on that than we could with Seasons, you know, with Gerali, you know, with Deutz Farm. I think we could have more fun on the new map on Green Valley, or sorry, on Green River, than we could in Gerali. However, we've already moved Deutz Farm once from Altenstein to Gerali, and we can't really just rip that up and move it again. So this is where I open it up to you guys. We have a choice. We can continue Gerali, and we can continue Deutz Farm, or we can scrap that series entirely and start a brand new series on Green River, and we can bring back Fent Farm. So the choice is yours, because I mean, I really want to do that map, but I've put a lot of time and effort into Deutz Farm already, and I really like Deutz Farm as well. So I'm kind of stuck. I'm kind of in a quandary. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to leave the decision with you guys. Do we continue with Deutz Farm and continue in Gerali? We are approaching summer, so we'll start doing some grass work soon, and then we won't be too far away from having crops. Or do we just start fresh, brand new farm, resurrect Fent Farm, which we've been planning to do for so long anyway, and bring Fent Farm back on Green River? The choice is yours. I will put a link to a poll on my Facebook page in the description at the end of the video. Make sure you click the link, head over to my Facebook page, cast your vote, let me know what you want to do. That vote will go live, you know, when this video goes live. So yeah, please do let me know. I'll leave that up for a week before we make a decision. There'll be no episodes of Deutz Farm in that week period, and as I say, the decision is yours. So please do let me know what you want us to do. And that's the last of our soybean. Got that little tuft there. We didn't quite seed, it looks like, right on the edge of the field. Ah, well, it's only going to be a tiny, tiny amount. It's not the end of the world. What is actually left for us to fertilise? I think we've done pretty much all of the fields now. Yeah, because obviously we can't do 10, we can't do 25, 26 or 1, so that's it. Obviously we've got our Optum still working away here on field 4, but everything else is done, so we can take this back, and now I can kind of cheer myself up from the maladies of the morning by doing some mowing with the Big M. Always cheers me up doing a bit of mowing with the Big M. So I've kind of already got that in position on the next field ready to go, and I've also got our merger. That's the word I was trying to find. I've got the merger and also our loading wagon over there as well. So I'm just going to quickly give this a clean. I'm going to drop that there and switch the wheels back over as well. It's you know, as useful as skinny wheels are, not a huge fan of the look of them, as you know. I'm going to go with wide tyres, just because I think wide tyres look pretty awesome. There we go. Let's hook back up before we do the spraying. There we go. Give it a quick clean. It's amazing when you're weeding just how dirty the tractor gets. You know, how quickly it gets dirty. You know, you can do some jobs and they don't get that dirty that quickly, but with weeding they always seem to get ridiculously dirty really quickly. And obviously the weeders will get pretty filthy as well when you've done a substantial amount of running up and down on a field. So make sure we give that a good clean before we put that back away in its shed. There we go. I'm going to start using these sheds a little bit more. I mean, we've been sticking the stuff in that little sort of awning area over there, but I'm actually going to start bringing them into here now and using this second shed a bit more, because we don't really use it. All that's in here is our telehandler, our little Merlot turbo farmer, and a selection of tools for it, and that's it. So it's nice to use that a little bit more often, I think. Right, let's head over to the field that we need. The quickest way is going to be this way, I think. I need to get on the other side of the canal. Going a little bit fast. Let's slow down a touch. There we go, stick to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop to the other side of the canal here, so we've got this little dirt path just here. I'm going to run along here. It's a bit of a trek to get to the field. There's no easy direct access to this field, unfortunately. It's whichever. It's a long way in either way. We either go all the way down towards the store and then turn in and then come back again, or we go all the way down here to there and then a long run down here. But there you can see, just poking out behind the bushes, there's the Big M, and there is our waiting equipment. So we are going to need to stockpile a lot of grass. So I mean, I've got the as you can see, I've got the tedder attached to the back of the Big M. We are going to make this a hay field, but every other field we've got is going to be grass after this, because I've kind of used up all of my grass, making sure that my cows are fully fed. So I've got literally just like a few thousand litres of grass left. So got that in place there. Let's jump into the Big M. I love that boot up sequence on the monitors. Always try and make a habit of watching that if I can. Let's try and get positioned here. So I need to unfold the mowers. I have to fold the tedder back up again. I don't have quite the space just yet. Oops. A little clunky there. Right, let's lower the mowers. Turn them on. We should still be in widespread. That's odd. Why won't my mowers turn on? And stay turned on. What's going on? Don't tell me the grass is too wet to mow. It's at 13%. It should be pretty dry. Why won't it let me actually mow? Look, the mowers are turning on and immediately turning off again. That's very, very odd. Let me drop that for a second. Oh, there we go. Now they're working. Very strange. Maybe this needs to be unfolded. That's a possibility. Now that I've actually mown that first little patch and got sort of positioned, I've got the room to unfold those again. So let's lower that, turn that on. Yeah, there we go. Now the mowers are working. So maybe I just needed a little bit more clearance. But we're going to make this into hay on this field here. Then we'll row it up. We'll collect it all. We'll take it over to our storage area, our forage and chips silo. Get it all stashed away in there. And then we'll turn our attentions to some of our other fields and we'll mow those. And to help save time, we'll turn off widespread and we'll just go back with, you know, rowing as we go, so that it just saves us a job, and we can then collect, you know, directly with the feeding wagon after that. So let's make these turns, and you can see just how well this setup works when you go around those turns. We didn't lose any grass there. We didn't get any that didn't convert over to hay. Always nice when that happens. If you don't turn too sharply, then you won't have any issues. I mean, that's as tight a turn as you really want to go, but you see how smooth that transition was around that corner. No grass got missed. I do like that. So yeah, I'm going to continue to run around the field with the Big M, mowing and tedding as we go, and then we'll grab our Puma, we'll grab the merger, we'll get everything rowed back up, and then we'll start collecting and transporting over to the silo. Oh, I could do this all day. I love driving this thing and just mowing away on the fields. Such a fun piece of equipment to use, the Big M. And there we go. We are done. So, let's fold the mowers. Fold the tedder. Let's move this out of the way and break out the merger to start cleaning up the rather large mess of hay that we have left all over the field. Can I actually position this in a good way? I think I'm going to have to actually drive this past in a second. Let's park there for a second. Let's move the Puma out of the way. There we go. Hop back in. Let's actually just move this out of the way completely. There, that'll do. Right. Back to the Puma. Time to start merging. So, same as we did last time out, what we'll do is we'll do all the vertical sort of, I say vertical, we'll do all the lengthway strips first, and then we'll tidy up the edges on the horizontals on the width of the field at the end of that. So again, if we check the direction of the belt, yes, that is going into the field, that's good. Let's lower And off we go. I'm going to start with these end pieces that we made. Again, just by getting rid of these first, it gives me that little bit of extra turning space at the end of each of the windrows. And then obviously the other side is a little bit more pressing, because it does actually create some longer strips along that one there, as you can see coming up. Once again, we'll tack these pieces first. Try and make sure that we catch them all. I think we missed just a little bit on some of those first bits. They do tend to spit out quite wide when you have a lot of material. So I'll just go back and catch those again. Chopping those edges down, as you can see, gives us a little bit less, a little bit more room away from the fence. And there we go. Right, have I got room to actually drive out? I think I do. Yes, I'm pretty sure I do now that I've moved this out of the way. So, time to start running down the rows and really collecting in earnest. So here we are bringing in that first trailer load at the store, at the silo. You can see we're almost out of fuel as well. We've burnt through a lot of fuel in our Puma today, so I will have to give that a top up before we head back out onto the field again. Let's get this dropped in. I want to make sure we've got a good stockpile of hay just for the future. You can see we've got, what, 320,000 and growing in there. And if you look for grass, you can see we have just 2,454 litres left, which is not much at all. So in terms of the grass fields, this here will be grass. This will be grass that will be cut and put into the silo, and so will this patch just here. This area, I'm probably going to chaff this grass because we are going to be chaffing this corn and using that to fill up the BGA and make some silage. That now is even more kind of pressing financially than it was before, given that we've just lost all that potential income from our crops. So we definitely need to make sure we do a good job with silage this year to kind of make up for that. So whereas some of that grass, ideally I suppose it would be a good idea for us to transfer some of this over to the silo and store it for next year, I think we may end up chaffing all of it. I guess we'll kind of find out where we stand after this field here, and this field here have all been mowed. Don't forget, we are going to get a second cut as well. Because it's native grass, it grew and was ready at the beginning of summer. It's not like a field that we've planted that then has to go through all of the growth stages from scratch. It already started, at its sort of lowest level. So we don't have to wait for it to even start sprouting. It's there, so it grows a lot quicker, and it means we will get time for a second cut before the end of the year. I'm going to take a slightly different route on the way back, so we can cut this twice for grass. We can obviously do the same with the fields that we've already cut. You know, the one that we've got that we're working on right now, and the original field that we did on yesterday as well. That can also be cut a second time this year, and here is that one there as well. So we can get a lot of grass, and I think that will probably be enough to tide us over for the end of the year. I think what I might do with the second cuts of our hay fields, because we've got so much hay now, I think they will probably be grass as well, and then we can add some of it to the silo and the rest can go over to the BGA. Now you can see our worker has finished weeding our canola field just there, so all of our crops are weeded as far as they can be at this stage. Just have to wait for them to grow a little bit more, get that final fertilizer stage on. As you can see, there is no easy, direct, quick access to this field. You do have to kind of loop around a little bit, but it's a good sized grass field, so we're not going to ignore it. We are going to keep working it. It's just a little tricky to get in and out of it, that's all. Just squeeze our way past the big M there, and we're back on the field. So a lot more grass and hay to collect. This is going to be the last field we've got time to work today. As you can see, it's 5 o'clock. But tomorrow, with the rest of our weeding already done now, we will be really mowing in earnest. So assuming that the weather holds good, and it is predicting it's going to be good, we will be mowing all of our remaining fields tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to lower this down, didn't I? Wonder why we were missing bits of hay. We were tilted too far back. There we go. Right, yeah, I'm going to carry on collecting all the rest of this, put it in the silo, and then that'll probably be it for the end of the day and the end of the episode. Okay, so this is pretty much going to be, I think, our final load. So lower that back down again. Get it turned on. Just missed a little bit there. Let's tag that now before I forget. Not the widest of pickups on the on the Lely forage wagon. There are others that do feel like they have a slightly wider pickup. I think the 50,000 litre Bergman one has a slightly wider pickup than this one, but it's a good size. We can get quite a bit done. You see, time has just been ticking away and ticking away. It's now gone 6 o'clock. I mean, it is the summer, so the days are longer, and it's going to be 8:30, really, I think, before it gets to the point where it starts to get a little bit dark and you start to see the sun setting. But even so, I think this is probably going to be the end of us for today. And then, as I say, tomorrow we'll attack the remaining grass fields and mow them in earnest. We'll make sure that they all get done. There isn't really a lot else to get done tomorrow, unless something miraculously grows and is ready for harvesting in the middle of summer, which I seriously doubt. So we're not needing to worry about baling, because we're not storing our product for our animals in bales. We're storing it loose in the silos. We will do some straw baling towards the end of the year once we harvest our wheat and our barley. Some of that will obviously go as loose material into the silo. The rest of it will be baled and then taken and sold as straw bales. But that's about it. We're not going to do any hay baling, we're not going to do any grass baling. I'm probably going to get rid of the... I might keep the silage bale wrapper, but for now, I don't see us doing any silage baling this year. I think instead what we'll be doing instead is just doing loose silage. It will make more money when it comes to doing loose silage than we will silage bales. Obviously they have a fixed price, whereas we have a variable economy that can get quite high, and the sheer amount that we can get for the same sort of volume is substantially higher if we do it right, as loose material rather than baled. So I don't think we'll be doing any silage baling this summer. Like I said, I think we'll just be doing grass cuts to then turn into chaff and ferment at the BGA. So we'll get this taken back, we'll get this dumped, and then I'll take the equipment off to its sort of resting place overnight, and that'll be that. So we've reached the end of another day here on American Midwest. Don't forget, the future of Deutz Farm is in your hands. Do we carry on with Deutz Farm, or do we scrap it, and do we resurrect Fent Farm on the brand new Green River map? I leave that decision entirely in your hands. Don't forget to click the link in the description of this video to go to the poll on my Facebook page and cast your vote. And that'll run for 5 to 7 days. So you've got up to a week, but maybe slightly less. You've got at least 5 days. Let me know what you want to do. Your decision will be final, and I will abide by it. So if you want us to carry on with Deutz Farm on Gorala, we will do that. If you want us to resurrect Fent Farm on Green River and start a brand new map there, we will do that instead. The decision, as I say, is yours. So please do remember to click the link, follow it to my Facebook page, cast your vote on the poll. I really do want to hear from you on that. So that's it. That's another episode done on American Midwest. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I will catch you all again very soon.